When taking Balsamra, don't drive or operate heavy machinery until you feel fully awake. Walking, eating, driving, or engaging in other activities while asleep without remembering it the next day have been reported. Balsamra should not be taken together with alcohol. Abnormal behaviors may include aggressiveness, confusion, agitation, or hallucinations. The temporary inability to move while falling asleep or waking up and temporary leg weakness have also been reported. In depressed patients, worsening depression, including risk of suicide, may occur. Alcohol may increase these risks. Side effects include next-day drowsiness.
Sleep.
That's so you can sleep.
Ask your doctor about Balsamra.
Before Candace, before Veronica, there was
So,
Angela.
you're either not gonna sleep very good, or you're
Paris
gonna
for
be tired
Grandma
the next
First
day.
returns with the queen of no nonsense.
Or you're gonna take that stuff.
Trying to say?
It's gonna make you tired the next day. Plus, you're gonna want to kill yourself. And you're not gonna be able to move. Just paralyzed.
It's like an episode of Out.
Tyler Perry's For Better or Worse, the 1 hour season premiere, Friday, September
A whole
11th.
bunch of other side effects. So basically, you're still tired the next day. But you get all these other
My side
effects.
effects. I'm sick. I'm sick standing here.
This is the first time Julian Wendrow has returned to the Oakland County Jail building since he was locked inside here for 80 days. Almost all of them in solitary confinement.
This in here is inhumane. Lying on a concrete floor, lights on 24/7, 2 blankets, no pillow, no nothing. It's sickening.
The man responsible for Julian's jailing was this man, Oakland County Prosecutor David Gorsica. He claims he was just prosecuting a legitimate charge, and Julian was abusing his autistic daughter, Aislinn.
I get an opinion now, so there was abuse in the house.
He gave this opinion in a sworn deposition.
Try to assess every witness's credibility, but that issue is left for the trier of fact. Ultimately, it's for the jury to decide who to believe.
Despite the questions about the legitimacy of facilitated communication, Gorsica finds it hard to believe that Aislinn's facilitator, Cindy Scarcella, was just making up those accusations.
To me, if someone's just holding an elbow or wrist, and they're leading, that means they're lying for the person. That seems to me a little far-fetched.
It's a key question. If the allegations aren't real, why would Scarcella type what she did? Why would she ever do that?
I can't tell you what's going on in the brain, but I can tell you that this is not the first time this has happened.
Other facilitators have made open-ended accusations like that?
Absolutely.
Jim and Suzette Wheaton were shocked when they heard about the charges.
Believe it or not, it's true. Way back in 1994, Hugh Downs reported on one such case in Maine for 2020.
Betsy had claimed through facilitated communication that she was being abused.
Just like the Wendrow case, a facilitator came up with 6 allegations against stunned parents.
Can you put Duncan in the truck?
That's when this man stepped in, Howard Shane. He runs a communications center for autistic kids at Children's Hospital, Boston. Back then, Shane came up with a test showing one set of pictures to a facilitator and a completely different set to the child. When he asked what they saw every single time, the answer was whatever picture he had shown the facilitator.
I don't think it's conscious.
Shane studied what was going on and concluded the facilitator's behavior wasn't malicious. Instead, it was a bizarre psychological phenomenon he called the savior effect. The facilitators want to help so much, they don't realize they're making up what they type.
If you think you're really going to help someone, that alone drives you to put reality aside.
The charges were dropped in Maine, just as they were in many other courtrooms where the same thing happened.
My understanding was there were 30 to 40 cases. I was personally involved in 12.
We will let you ask questions of the facilitator after the facilitated communication.
Judge Mark Barron is skeptical about FC. He holds a special hearing to see how Aislinn answers questions her facilitator can't hear. Julian is there. That's him in the orange jail jumpsuit. This is the first time he's seen his daughter in 2 months.
There's my daughter there. She can't express herself. I can't help her. I can't help my child.
Now, Now, in an effort to prevent another travesty of justice, Shane is hired to testify on Wendrow's behalf.
You'll see a dramatic difference in her ability when the facilitator is unaware of the information.
But Gorsica was unswayed.
It's a retained defense expert, so they're going to say what defense argument is that.
Have you ever tried to influence her purposely when she facilitates?
Absolutely not.
Amazingly, despite repeated warnings to find someone new, the prosecution continues to use Sydney Scarcella.
And I have a finger in front of her elbow and one behind.
Thanks to Shane, the judge orders Scarcella to leave the courtroom entirely during the questions.
Mrs. Scarcella stepped outside for a moment, and I'm going to ask you a question.
Now, the moment of truth. The court will see what I saw for myself as Aislinn is asked a simple question.
Do you have a brother or sister? And if you do, what is their name?
Scarcella returns and facilitates.
She typed in 7 B Q J V W T T 7 I.
Everyone was just stunned. Did he see what we just saw?
The case seemed to fall apart.
See, it did fall apart.
Not exactly. Pay close attention to what happens next.
She typed in I am and then the letters AFRID.
AFRID. Prosecutors are convinced this means Aislinn is afraid of her father.
She said purposely tanking the questions because she didn't want to answer questions.
Gorsica insists Aislinn can answer the questions, but she just won't.
I don't know how many occasions. Aislinn was capable of answering her questions, and then we got here, and everything all of a sudden didn't make sense.
Of course, all those other times, Scarcella heard the questions and could essentially put her words in Aislinn's mouth. Shane says it's not Aislinn who's afraid, it's Scarcella.
That is my job, and I am with her during her class period.
When she was unable to answer, she resorted to the strategies that I had seen several times before. I'm afraid, and didn't want to respond.
Shane had seen it before, and he thought that the court would see right through the mumbo-jumbo. But that's not what happened. The case drags on for another month before they finally announce they are dropping the charges. Does the prosecutor's office ever come forward and say this was wrong?
No. There's never been an acknowledgement that, we shouldn't have done this or we should have had more evidence. It's always been, some excuse.
The Wendrows are devastated by the ordeal, but after fearing they would be torn apart forever, there's at least the comfort of being reunited.
I was involved. It was just, thank God, I've got my children back.
So is it over?
For us, emotional, no.
How long did it take, or is it still taking, for the family to be what it was?
The family will never be what it was.
The bad thing was that she was clearly traumatized by it, and we have no way of knowing how, to what extent, and how to fix that.
For 6 months, Julian says Aislinn would get frantic if he was out of her sight for long. Ian, who endured that harrowing police interrogation, was deeply troubled too.
I was mad at what they tried to do. I went to bed once from nightmares I had because of it. I started going to see a therapist because I had done a really good number in my head.
With the damage done to their reputations and relationships, the Wendrows filed suit against the police, the prosecutors, the school district, and the state agencies involved in the case. All told, 61 different counts of alleged misconduct.
We're not going to realize what's been going on in your house.
Before it ever gets to court, the police department responsible for Ian's interview settles, admitting no wrongdoing, but agreeing to pay $1.8 million.
No wrong with it. We'll give you $1.8 million.
But the prosecutor's office is defiant. Gorsica insists he did nothing wrong, and on top of that, his office is immune from liability because it was just doing its job as mandated by law. How can they be immune in this situation?
There's a legal body of case law out there that says, as long as you're wearing your prosecutor hat, you can say and do anything and you're protected.
There's no standard of reasonable behavior?
Yes, there is a standard, and we think they've crossed it, and that's what our lawsuit is all about.
But even though the federal judge hearing that suit called the entire investigation a runaway train, he accepted most of those immunity claims and dismissed most of Gordon's charges. To date, the the prosecutor has been able to walk between the raindrops. In this National Law Journal article, Gorzyka was asked if he thought the Wendros at least deserved an apology. His response, "Over my dead body."
Hey officers, how you doing? Chris Cuomo from ABC News.
It seems Gorzyka should answer some questions, but when we tried to speak with him, he called the cops, saying he was concerned when he realized he was being followed.
Gorzyka called you though, right?
Yeah, if you get him to talk to you, you get him to talk to you.
So we tried calling him from outside the building, where he is now in private practice.
So you don't want to come outside and address this yourself?
But knowing who we were didn't help the situation.
With all due respect, Mr. Gorzyka, we've tried very hard to get you to do it the nice way. You didn't do it, that's why I'm here.
Nevertheless, Gorzyka refused to do an interview, citing ongoing litigation.
Ms. Scarcella?
As for Cindy Scarcella, the facilitator responsible for all those accusations,
I'm Chris Cuomo from ABC News.
she now works in a clothing store at a mall. We went there to see if she would share her perspective.
I don't want to chase you, Ms. Scarcella, but I want to ask you about the Wendro case.
But as you can see, no dice.
So for this family trying to figure out how to get their life back, it comes down to what happened with you and your daughter. That's why it's so important.
But not important enough to Scarcella, who just drives away.
It would make a big difference for the family. You can help this family.
Do you need an apology?
Hello?
I would like an apology, but what I would really like is for the system to be fixed. I don't want this to happen to anybody else. And somebody can say something,
of course she would.
misconstrue and make an allegation.
Okay, what is she like? What kind of stuff
Before
does she
you
like?
do it, you are in a cauldron of chaos.
As they await their day in court on the claims the judge let stand, the Wendros say their lives will never be the same.
Okay.
The stain of the allegations is like a scarlet letter that never really goes away.
No.
I said, so maybe I'm oversensitive, I don't know. And they had to chunk out our lives. It's irrevocable, it's irreplaceable. You can't put it back.
The Wendros lawsuits against police, the school district, and the state of Michigan were later settled with no admission of wrongdoing. They won their lawsuit against prosecutor David Gorzyka. From all the lawsuits, they are due to receive a total of $6.75 million. He and Wendro graduated high school with high honors and enrolled in college. Aislinn, as of 2014, remains at home and is attending a continuing education program for young adults. When we come back, a father of a 5-year-old girl.
I can't live without my daughter.
And his ex-wife with a dangerous secret.
I'm sorry.
At least a fifth of whiskey.
On a collision course with tragedy.
The stupid independent crash or that crash.
Stay with us.
Yeah.
It's here. Kohl's lowest prices of the season. Save big on boys' tees, colorful juniors' camis, jumping beans tops and bottoms, and on the big one back towel. Don't miss Kohl's lowest prices of the season. It only happens twice a year. This Wednesday through Sunday. Find your yes. Kohl's.
Okay.
I got the old man to give me a treat. I got Ethan to eat something that's actually nutritious. Who's your daddy?
Putting Grammars with real milk and fruit from Gerber.
Forget about the cowboy walk because of a saggy diaper. It's time to dance freely thanks to new Pampers Cruisers. The first and only diaper that helps distribute wetness evenly into 3 extra absorb channels, so it stays drier and doesn't sag like other diapers. So wiggle it, jiggle it, and do whatever that is in new Pampers Cruisers. Love, sleep, and play. Pampers.
For my party I rely on Almay. New Almay Intense Makeup. Perfectly coordinated shades for my hazel eyes. So easy to choose, so easy to use. You've got to try it.